Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, here in Sarasota, Florida. Tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary of something I will never forget, and something shared with Heart Attack Guy that I will never forget. I won't forget him for a lot of reasons, least of which the astounding, off the charts story of synchronicity that he and I created with our energies, which culminated with Kirk Gibson golfing at the golf course at which he works only 3 days a week, just 4 days after we had completely relived his insane 1988 at bat as an LA Dodger when he was injured and hit a walk-off home run in the ninth inning to win game one of the World Series. One of the greatest at bats ever. And 4 days later, after randomly kind of finding this highlight I did as a former, he was a Detroit Tiger. So he's my favorite. He was one of my favorite players. He was one of my first crushes. And oh, by the way, I had happened to have asked him for an autograph with my dad and my brothers, because my dad used to take us to Tiger games and we used to go for batting practice. And then after the game, we would go down and we would hang out for autographs. But this time we were like making our way to the dugout or to the locker room for the autograph area when Kirk Gibson was by himself walking underneath the old Tiger Stadium. And it was just Kirk Gibson, my dad, my little brothers, and myself. And here I am, this like 8-year-old, 9-year-old town boy with my hard hat on and my Tiger jacket and my wristbands and my mitt, and asked him for an autograph. And he said no. So that was part of our story that we were talking about as we relived this highlight. Then 4 days later, that was on December 27th. And then 4 days later, on December 31st, Kirk Gibson fucking golfs at his golf course. And again, he only works 3 days a week. So the fucking synchronicity was off the charts. And then it didn't end with just the synchronicity. He brought something to my doorstep. You brought something to my doorstep that day as you were making your way down to dinner with your sister who was in town for the holidays from Chicago. So you only had a couple of minutes and you brought me, I should have it with me. It's back in the room in the plastic bag that you put it with. And it was Gibson's autograph on a blank scorecard for the golf course. I think you call it a scorecard. And I, it was then that I lost control. That's when I lost control of the situation. I lost control of a situation that for the better part of that month, I knew the kind of guy he was, you were, I knew the lack of compatibility that we had. All I knew is that I had a major physical attraction to you, but that because of the lack of compatibility, I needed to kind of keep that at bay. Well, all of that went out the window on December 31st, 2024, which is now 1 day away from the 1 year anniversary. Now, you and I, he and I, have a lot happened between that day and today. A lot. And at present, and for the past almost 3 months now, which is insane to me, I could not even maintain a friendship, not even a friendship. And had I not lost sight of what I knew the situation to be, perhaps things would have been played out differently, but they haven't. And it has been one of the craziest and continues to be one of the craziest stories that I'm my heart, like this has done a number on me and continues to do a number on me because I see him when I'm in town almost every day at the gym, and not just from afar. You know, we met and our relationship really primarily existed as sauna and steam buddies. And so it is still like what my heart continues to do as I don't speak. We do not speak. We are not speaking. And that was me. I initiated that. I initiated that. He didn't get the message the first time around, and then he got the message and he's respected it. But it's insane. It's insane. The backflips and the nutty way that my heart still feels like, because I know this man's soul. I know him at the soul level. So like my higher self and his higher self have a relationship, and I'm very connected to my higher self, which means by extension, I'm very connected to his higher self, but he's not at all connected to his higher self. So it's like dealing with somebody that has amnesia. He doesn't remember what we've had in the past. But herein lies what this video is intended to be, which is to share the handful of things that we shared where I felt like our souls connected. It was split. None of this. It probably all adds up to maybe 2 minutes, right? But it's there. And I need to get this down for video 17 of 17. Yes, I have captured 17 videos that were inspired and directed, and all things I wanted to say to you directly. But because you never, ever, ever, ever allow an honest, serious talk for whatever the issues that you have are, we never had. We have maybe flirted around the very far periphery of a couple of more serious talks 2 or 3 times in the year, but you never would allow an honest exchange. And I choose not to believe that you were doing that on purpose. I really think that, listen, I know how much I am. I know. I twist up a lot of people because a lot of people make a lot of assumptions. And, I am not your regular chick in a lot of fucking ways, least of which right now, and least of which a year ago. And what you have helped develop within me, which is honest to God, coming out of my little girl and into my full woman. And so I got nothing but gratitude for all of this. And it's just all to say that I have been tracking the story and made up a story mostly in my imagination, but it was based on real things you said. It was based on exchanges we had in text. It was based on, I wasn't making this shit up. And then all of a sudden, well, we know what happened after the Kirk Gibson thing. Then 4 days later, hell, this is how you got your name, heart attack guy. You called me as you're driving yourself to the fucking hospital as you're having a heart attack. And I would proceed to stay the next 2 nights in the hospital with you, where then I was really turned inside out about what I knew to be true. And then everything got really challenging for me, because then I really saw your higher self. I didn't see your higher self and remember, like, it didn't all kind of click in for me until the hospital experience. And there is where most of these, so the first interaction, I don't think the first interaction are souls. The first interaction was when you were on the porch on December 31st with what would turn out to be the autograph. And I had just gotten out of the shower. I certainly wasn't expecting you. And you basically like announced you were in my driveway as you were in my driveway. And when you presented the autograph, I almost kissed you and like pounced on you then. Like I mean, I was over. I couldn't believe like the whole thing. And then it just got better, because then I called my dad with the story, and my dad remembered all the details of not only the at bat that we were talking about, but of when he told me no for the autograph. So it like brought that story and everything that the Detroit Tigers meant to me, and my grandfather on my mom's side, and my dad and my brothers, and oh my God, like it was no small thing, this Kirk Gibson thing. Okay, but the interaction, you just mostly had this like kind of cute, like little boy look, oh, I did good. I did good. So it wasn't, I don't think that was a soul connection, although it was incredibly cute. And the gesture itself, you had me, man. You had me right there. That's when everything really changed. And then in the hospital, I remember, and we had talked about this is why I think the things I'm about to share, the reason why I gotta keep my eye on the time. Um, okay. The reason why I think our souls touched is because you remembered these things too. And the feel, remember, my heart leads. My heart is so far beyond my mind, and I have a very active mind. But my heart, what it feels and what it reads in other people's hearts, I don't know. Like it picks up on a lot. But the first thing was I took your hand in the emergency room, like you were in a room and you were, it wasn't like a heart attack with paddles, but your heart rate was knocking on it was like 159, low 160s, but it hovered at like 158, 159 for hours, before they admitted you and took you upstairs. And I took your hand and I just remember you saying, you're like, your hand's so small. Like it was just like, it was the fucking, it was so fucking, huh, it like, I don't know. This is what I'm saying. And I don't think this was a trauma bond. I really don't because I mean, I know you were nervous, but I didn't know you well enough. I still don't know you well enough to know you wear some pretty fucking good masks. Well, they're kind of good. I mean, I can see right through a lot of them, but like in terms of I don't know when I don't feel as if you've ever really let yourself consciously be vulnerable at all. But by virtue of the situation, those 2 days were the most vulnerable I to date ever got to experience you. And to me, that felt more real. That was you. There was more of your soul present in those 36 hours than than all the time added up together that we spent. And that is what I will choose. And that is why I held on so long to try, try to find a way to navigate just where we went. If I would have not let myself even contemplate a actual relationship with you, which foolishly I did, I don't think I wouldn't have lost what was clear to me from moment one, which was mostly I just wanted you physically. Like, and when I learned about the food and the music, I was like, oh fuck, let's just make food, listen to music, and have great sex. What? That's fantastic. You can handle that. What man wouldn't want to handle that? Especially one that's telling me that he's extremely and has been extremely attracted to me since the first time that we officially met in the sauna. At this point, it was 2 years prior. So I was so fucking confused when all of a sudden that was no longer on the table. I didn't understand that, and honestly, I don't think you understood that either. So I don't necessarily think you were doing anything exactly on purpose, but I don't know. All to say, the first memory is when I took your hand and you were like, it's so small. And I'm like, oh my God, like it was just so gentle and sweet. And then not too much long after that, probably within a half hour after that, we're still in the ER. And I was calm as a cucumber, man. I was just, I didn't, I wasn't scared. Like I was just calm and just really trying to consciously, try to slow your heart naturally. And you asked me if I would put my hand on your heart. And of course I was gonna do that. So I put my hand on your heart. And again, like seriously, what? uh, I- it- Again, most intimate thing I think that I've ever experienced was all of this. I've never shared with a man something quite like that. And I don't want to believe that there was any part of that that was manipulation. Possibly because after experiencing what I've experienced the past year, I don't know that you're even aware of when you do things in a manipulative way. But that that was intense. And then you would get admitted later. I think I think this third one took place on the second night. I think it was when you were, kind of on your way through this heart attack experience. And you asked me if I would put my ear like on your heart. And you were laying in the hospital bed, where I would spend 2 nights in the chair next to you. And you asked me to put my ear on your heart. And I put my head right on your chest. And then you put your hand gently on my head as my head was on your heart. And again, done. This empath, this emotional, romantic, love-filled chick who is still yearning for even the smallest of just like, uh, you know, exchanges of love, even if it was just like over silly shit like food, music, and sex. And sex I know is a trickier thing, but you wouldn't even make dinner here. You got on you nothing. So then the hospital thing happened. Okay, or so then we get through the hospital thing, right? And again, as I would later learn, I don't know that you process or reflect on anything. I'm not convinced that you understand what that process even would look like or feel like. So I don't think you really processed your experience in the hospital, but it jolted me in oh so many ways. And so then things kind of quickly shifted with us. But the last thing that I think was shared where our souls touched was on January 22nd, when completely unexpectedly, right before you left my house after hanging out, we had coffee after the gym, you went back and used the guest bathroom, and you came out and you were getting ready to leave, and you kissed me. And we shared not one, not two, not three, but four of the gentlest, sweetest kisses. And I almost didn't even know what was going on until the third one. And had I had any sense about me, oh man, no way would I have like stopped at just the four little sweet kisses. And I don't, again, I refuse to believe that you didn't feel something too. Because when I asked you the next day, I was like, before I lose the memory, did we kiss 2 or 3 times? You're the one that came back instantly and said 4. And I said 4, and you said 4. And I know you hold on to dates and things like I do as well, but there was something in the way that you remembered that tells me, feels like our souls that did have a chance to reunite. And I am so sad that we couldn't find some way to harmonize. And I won't go off any further. I have to I have to really protect my energy. And you're a very strong, strong, strong man who affects me deeply because of our soul connection. And did not demonstrate that you really care at all about the other side of this equation. A relationship has two sides. You demonstrated time and time and time again that you did not care, even as a friend. So that's why it had to end. But I'll always remember you.